whole like. Oh, it's sometimes we have to sit on a, I guess, steering committee, so
Ready?
committee would coordinate with council, so you couldn't really double dip. On somebody else.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right, everyone. Good afternoon. I am calling to order the regular meeting of the Lewiston Public Works Advisory Commission here on August 28th at noon. I noticed we have a new person on the commission. Would you like to introduce yourself? Then we can go around just real quick since you probably haven't met any of us.
Yeah, I'm Matthew Wright. You can call me Matt. I'm on the city council and I took over the position that Kathy had.
And I know you know.
Yeah.
Since you guys work together.
Sorry.
Ryan Rader with American Company here in town.
With
Merrick.
Merrick.
MERRICK, engineering consulting.
Ignore the shirt. That's who he used to be.
Yeah, you're saying this. Sorry. Old brand.
I'm Haley. I'm one of the staff liaisons for Public Works.
Who can't finish, we've met a couple times, I'm the city engineer.
And Laura Wright. I am a former government person that worked in public works for many years. So, and I live here.
Right. I suppose for the record, we're not related. Just curious.
Clarification.
That is good. I thank you. I appreciate that. All right, item number 2, citizen comments. Do we have anything?
That why the mayor's here?
Unless, oh, I'm just gonna say,
A mayor comment?
Thanks for letting me join you today.
oh, thank you for joining us. Pleasure to have you. And then nothing online, correct? Okay, wonderful. All right, then let's move on to the consent agenda. These are items that are routine by the commission and enacted on a motion. If there's no separate discussion here, then I would like to move for a vote. Minutes.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as stands. Second, anybody?
I'll second.
I was like, okay, all those in favor of approving the approval of the May 21st, 2025 meeting minutes?
Second, or sorry, aye.
Aye.
Excuse me.
All right, thank you all. We are now moving on to item 4, the director's report.
All right. I'm actually very excited for this because we've got so much going on as we're closing out budget and we're moving into, it's construction season. So I will try and stay as brief as I can. The big one that I wanted to share with this group, if you hadn't seen, the council put the Main Street project back on the ballot. And I think, I can't remember the last time we met, but generally the question is, what's the difference between the last one and the new one? And I think the biggest thing is that ITD has brought funding for their section of right of way, which is right outside our window here, which lowers the price. So the cost to the city of Lewiston bond went down from 25 to I think 21.5 or 22.5. A lot of, I don't, again, money is very important, but ITD has accepted that they will pay for the portion within their right of way. So if the costs escalate, they will pick that up. So it's not an extra cost to the city. If for whatever reason ITD requires, something special, they'll cover the cost. So we will be running that bond on this November ballot. I think the one thing that our 2 counselors here may not be aware of, I'm looking for volunteers for the Nez Perce County Fair booth that we'll be running on the 18th through the 21st, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'll be getting a sign-up sheet sent out. My vision for that, which is just mine at this point, but I'll be there as much as I can. I do have one obligation Saturday, but I'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning, and Sunday. But to try and have me and probably Shannon Grow, one of us there at all times, Shannon Grow, Community Development Director, and or the mayor, and then an elected, so that would be a council member. If we could all just kind of take 2-hour shifts, however it worked And then technical staff, so engineers or anybody who would be able to answer some of these, say stormwater questions. So we'll be there at the fair booth, we have done the fair booth in the past on other projects and it's been very successful in that you come to the people, they're there for the conversation. They don't feel it as a stuffy, town hall or anything else where they have, or a city council meeting where they maybe not comfortable talking or asking questions. And so, it's a long day, but I actually enjoy this quite a bit because you get a lot of different perspectives and even people that don't necessarily live in Lewiston because they come to the fair and they use it. And so, that's the latest on the Main Street project.
Quick question, you said it's going back on the ballot. Is that gonna be in March or June or November?
November.
November,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep, so that language got turned into the county to be printed on the ballot this week. So yeah, it'll be on it's the same general election, so it'll be on there. And then, yeah, the project's not significantly different other than the ITD portion. And so we'll be updating our figures and updating our information, but it's generally the same thing. And I think the council has talked quite a bit about why they think it's an important and viable project. So that's my Main Street update. Any questions?
How long does the fair usually go? How long you at the booth for usually?
It's a good question. So we have, there's technically two types of booths there. There's, like a commercial booth and you were required to be there at all hours. We're an education booth, so if you're a nonprofit or if you're a government agency, you're not required to be there at all times. Not that we wouldn't want to be there at all times, but we have some flexibility in our schedule. And so I haven't even had a chance to talk to Haley. We've been out off and on all week. So trying to figure out, I'm not sure when the hours are. I'll get that out probably today or tomorrow. Project wise, we've got a lot going on, actually moving project stuff. The intake projects ran up against some challenges. Probably not gonna wrap that project up this summer. That's gonna roll forward. It's gonna be an ongoing between permitting, constructability and funding. That's gonna be a tough project just moving forward, but we're committed to it. Thane Road and Stewart Avenue stormwater pond. So if you're up there by, we call it the North 40 pond up there, that pond has been too shallow. So there's flooding in that neighborhood that use that all the drainage areas that utilize that pond, it fills too quickly. So we're oversizing it right now. I actually haven't been out there to see the progress, but that project's underway and that's paid for by stormwater utility funds. And so obviously the stormwater utility is only a year and a half now. So it's very new. And I think from my perspective, we want to prove to the community the value of what they're paying for in the utility. And so we're trying to take on these low hanging fruit projects. It's not the most expensive project. It's also not the most dazzling project of just making a pond deeper, but it's also, if people can start seeing the benefits of the utility, I think people, maybe have less gripes about the stormwater utility. So we're trying to get as many of these types of projects out as we can. There's 12th Street sidewalk going in. Did they start this week or is it next week? It's going, yeah. So that one's going right now. Next week, 5th Street grade, just out on my right shoulder over here. Reconstruction from 2nd Avenue to 7th Avenue. That one will start next week. You may have already seen the signs and some of the notification on that one. These are all, some of the sidewalks paid for, is that partially by grants? I can't remember.
5th Street one?
No, the 12th Street.
12th Street is, partly grant.
Partly grant, partly our own transportation dollars. So 5th Street is pavement preservation money. So lots of projects going on. August is always very busy and lots of construction and trying to do our best to stay out in front of it as far as public notification, and inevitably things slip through the cracks and we hear it. So the biggest thing that came out this week was budget. Budget was adopted Monday. The long, painful process for everybody, but we've got some more continue to put away money for capital or transportation capital. One big thing that will probably come back in front of this board for a while, since it was just funded this week, is the sidewalk master plan. That's the update to the transportation plan. So that one's a big one that we'll be putting together, but we won't even start on it for a couple months just because we're trying to close out the projects that were funded in 24 right now. So and then I won't step on anything yet. I'll let Luke address it, but the East Lewiston Network Analysis Steering Committee started this morning. So real good meeting actually right in this room this morning. So that one, I'll let Luke talk about it. We can talk about that later, separate from that director's report.
I have one quick question. I want to go back to the stormwater oversight, the pond over there.
Yep.
You said hopefully people will know that was paid for, you know, to see the benefits of stormwater fund and see that was paid for to improve it. How many people know that that is a stormwater? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because some
Yep,
people don't
yep.
understand like the swales and parking lots and things
Yeah.
like that, but like why they, you know, constructing that. How do they know that that's a stormwater project?
Haley, we printed some signs.
That's what I was wondering.
Yard signs,
Okay.
and so that's actually, so our stormwater coordinator came from Asotin County, where I came from, and so we're both over here now, and so that was something that we did. And they only have a stormwater utility, they don't have water, sewer. So we only ordered one set of signs, but we found that when you're doing work in the ditches or a capital project, you put that sign in there and, you know, project funded by your stormwater dollars.
Oh,
And so we ordered water, wastewater and storm, right? Is there any other? Transportation too. So trying to get that again, completely true point, because people see a Vista doing work and think it's city, you know, so trying to just generally put something. There's somebody working on a project in the right of way or wherever, and there's a sign that says, oh, okay. That's who's doing that, and that's why they're doing it.
Questions, anyone? Okay. Let's go to the active agenda. Item A. Progress update on the PWAC project number 1, city standards update. I think that goes to you.
It does, yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to bring this back before the group. I don't have a specific presentation. I was immediately sent out with the packet, the kind of the spreadsheet that was put together to summarize the comments we received and the responses to those. Hopefully everyone had a chance to review them. I would say, first of all, a huge thank you for all the comments, to everyone who provided them, because that, I mean, anytime we can clean up stuff, even if it's just grammar related, right? Like that makes our standards that much better. And there was even more, I mean, there was more depth to the comments than just grammar, but that was a great addition. It did help us improve a couple of things. Some of the responses were, yeah, we're not going to address that this time. We'll catch it on the next update. But
Which is gonna be when you say.
probably needs to be next year.
Next year, okay.
I think, once we get a few of these things dialed in better, we'll probably start skipping a year. But I've got a pretty decent list just from going through these the first time of things that, you know, it'd be too time consuming for what we're trying to do now, which is just get it in front of council and get it adopted. To add those, so we're gonna push those off, but then hopefully bring them back. So. And with that, I don't really have anything to highlight out of these. That's kind of general synopsis of, like, got good comments. We sought to address them all. Some of them, you know, were things that we didn't want to do or aren't being done for specific reasons. If you have any questions on anything like that, where I just said no and without a long explanation, feel free to hit me with it. We'll see what we can figure out. I might have to get back with you later, but I'm happy to field any questions like that.
Just for everybody's knowledge, this now goes out for public comment, right?
Yeah, so next step will be, once, I still have a couple of specs to polish up. I got a comment from water that I need to address. And I have to figure out how to get that spec plugged into our modifications, and I haven't figured out how to do that yet. Once I do that, then I think it will be ready to put out for public comment and then have public comment on the whole package. We'll address those comments for for council, provide, so a similar spreadsheet as this probably, and provide those comments to council and just see what they think. That's the path forward.
I only had one thing.
Okay.
As you know, I bombarded you, so I apologize.
No, I
And-
appreciate it.
And I apologize because, having worked for engineers before, city engineers and clarity and all that, mine were like, I had one that was absolutely insane on meticulousness, so he
Mhm.
would drive everybody nuts. But it was always good because he caught things that, I truly appreciated, even in stuff that I did, he was kind of, and I learned a lot about that. So the one thing I bombarded you kind of with is because I'm, when reading everything and I was trying to keep the consistency of the document going back and forth. So that's where I did mean to kind of like really get you between city engineer, project engineer, and director of public works, that whole process. And I noticed that you changed basically everything to city engineer, which is fine. That's what I was trying to do. So after seeing your comments and responses, my only thing is that in the disclaimer now, if there's some way you might just then clarify that, because here you said from the project, the deviation from the standards may be granted by the public works director upon evidence from the project engineer, the proposed deviation does not conflict with or modify conditions, approval, et cetera, et cetera. So in there, it might just be really nice to know that, basically, things go through the city engineer, first. If that is not resolved or something to that effect, at that point, they can petition the director of public works or however your process is. And then at that point, people know from the disclaimer, at that point, it's gonna be resolved at that level. Because every place you said variation approved by the city engineer, variation approved by the city.
Yeah, everywhere
engineer.
it's standards.
Exactly. So maybe just for, any person that comes in or reads that, they understand that basically the city engineer will do that. If not, you may more than welcome to submit your information. I will share it with the director of public works.
Right.
And maybe that might kind of help that legal language kind of, and then that makes the rest of your document consistent for me.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for all the lots of questions that I just kind of wanted to know and learn as well. So that's why I put a ton of them in. I was just kind of curious about, do you do this? Do you do that?
Yeah.
And then the thing that got me really confused was the mastic and the caustic. And I'm glad you clarified that all the way through. So thank you.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why did they write that and everything else?
Yeah, why is it here
Yeah.
one thing and there something else? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciated all the comments.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, along the same lines as your comment, and it may be out of scope for what's trying to be achieved here in these documents, but I find RACI models are very helpful to just explain who's responsible, who's accountable, who's informed, who's consulted. Because it's a quick visual of who does what in this process, but something like that could be just a quick way to see who's who when it comes to particular processes.
Try to clarify the roles.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Next steps, curiosity? I think. You have anything else you'd like to add on this at this point?
No, not unless there's questions I can field.
At this point, this was very helpful for us to have this group kind of vet it out and feel like you have value. I mean, it's been sitting on, it goes back 3 city engineers. So it's not like, I think I was talking to Matt, like, it's not the most attractive, fun project to take on, but it needs to be done and needs to be adopted by council. But if we were to take this to the council flat-footed without having it vetted by this group or contractors, why are we doing this? And so I think this just kind of solidifies what we're trying to do. So thank you.
Yeah, and there's lots of value added from the comments, so I really do appreciate even the bombardment is appreciated. It's a good thing. It helps out and.
They're engineers, so they're used to doing it, so it's good for them to get it back.
It's just this is one of those things, I read one thing on one page and I go back and I'm like, why does it say that on that page and doesn't say it on this page? It was, you know, so I was flipping through that binder back and forth. It'd make your head spin.
I could tell and it was great.
All right. If there's nothing further on this item, then let's go to item B, the East Lewiston Network Analysis, the ELNA Steering Committee. And I guess that gives to you as well.
Yeah, it does. So can't remember if we've talked about this project to this group before. No, this is fresh. Okay, so with that in mind, in your packet, there is a map. I think it's the last page of your packet if everyone has it. And you'll see kind of a blue hatched area that says priority 2 in it and kind of a pink red hatched area that says priority 1. So this is the area that we're talking about for the East Lewiston Network Analysis. I've been calling it ELNA. And the goal of this project is primarily to lay out a future transportation network across this grid that ties into the grid ties into the existing transportation network, but also solidifies where we will need right of way as development happens across this area. If you were to pull up an aerial that didn't have the hatching on it, you could easily see that most of this area doesn't have development in it yet. And so the goal is to put a plan in place that establishes right of ways across these, especially the open spaces, that says, this is where we need 80-foot right of way to make sure we can get a minor arterial through this area. Here's where we need a 60-foot right of way so we can get a good solid collector. Here's where we need a 70-foot right of way, a 54-foot right of way. And try to define those right of ways across this space that will function as collectors and minor arterials so that we are providing good connectivity with our street network. For those of you who are familiar with the geography of the area, you will recognize very quickly this is tough because every place that you would think, well, we should probably put a street here, has a canyon down it. And so trying to find a way to tie across the canyon or across the ravines, the canyons, whatever you want to call them, and establish a network is going to be challenging. And so we have onboarded Kittleson and Associates for this project. Council allotted funds in the current fiscal year for this project, and that's the funding mechanism from this, is it's coming out of the transportation dollars to establish specifically this. Like, we need a plan. We all know we need a plan for right of way through here. Let's get it established so that developers know what they're doing, so the city knows what we're requiring of developers as they start to develop and plat things out, and so that we don't end up in a situation where we've got a whole bunch of housing through an area and we realize, oh, hey, we actually need an 80-foot right of way through here. Now we're buying houses to try to establish it. That gets really expensive really fast, as we're seeing on Bryden. You know, the right of way acquisition there is a lot of money because that road's right of way was not put in to function as a 5-lane section because no one was thinking, you know, in the early days that we would ever have a 5-lane road coming up from the Snake River up the canyon and tying into there. So yeah, that's the basic background of the project. And we had as Dustin mentioned, had the first committee meeting this morning. Councilor Klein was there as a representative, so it was good to see council support. We really appreciate, you guys making the effort to show up with these things, because it is very helpful to us and helpful to let the rest of council know so that they know someone's been involved who's not just staff.
It was a full house. I mean, we had developers, property owners, multiple representatives from the county. Who else was there? City, obviously.
A member of the high school.
Oh yeah, school district.
School district was there, and obviously the consultant, city,
Yeah, that's probably it.
or someone else.
We will probably, it's funny because the consultant rolled it out and says, here's the process. And everybody in the room is like, well, I want to see the lines. I want to see the lines. And so that's why it's not come to you guys yet, because I think what will happen, there is a seat available for somebody from this committee to be on it, if they want to participate in any other 2 steering committee meetings. but we'll probably be bringing something back to this group to say, here, we've vetted this with the county, we've vetted this with school district and the property owners. This is kind of our draft plan. And let you guys kind of kick the tires on it. So.
Yeah,
The project will
how that
wrap
works out
up in
schedule-wise.
June next year is what the schedule says. We're already seeing, the county is seeing the value of this. And so I think there may be some scope creep on this, as we talk about some more specific subcategories in this that impact. Because it's the interface between the city and the county. And so it doesn't do the city any good to say we need 60 feet of right of way and then the county to develop a neighborhood where you tie into 40. And so we need to make sure that the county's buying in on this.
For the steering committee, did you reach out to all the counselors then, asking if they wanted to?
We did not.
Okay, no, okay. Sounds
Spickelmeyer
good.
and Klein were the two that were on there.
Oh, okay, cause I know he was wanting to be more involved, so.
Yep.
I was gonna say.
He was on the invitation.
It might be good to send it to him though and say, like, all the counselors and give them an opportunity.
Yeah, we could do that. I think Klein and Spickelmeyer were both very interested. Part of the reason why honestly they were selected was during our last couple transportation plans, they had a lot to say and a lot of concerns. And so it seemed like those were the easy two, like obviously there's interest, there's concern, let's bring them on board so they get to see the process.
Oh, okay.
And so that was how that selection was made, and it probably should have been more inclusive of the entire council, but I cherry picked those two because of their comments on past plans and knowing they were really engaged with this particular topic.
And they're already jealous of you being on this committee, so.
Everybody's
So,
chopping
if
up
we
the-
invited you, then you're feeling me mad.
No. Yeah, I just wasn't sure. Okay, obviously, maybe Schroeder, well, Schroeder was already on the committee, but, or maybe. Well, it could be, Kleberg would have been the only one that,
Oh, yeah, cause he's on the MPO.
so, but anyway, just as a future, if you guys do a future one.
Yeah, and I think the county already asked for an update to their board, and then we will, it's in the budget, or it's in this schedule to do an update to our council,
It'll
right?
come to council twice. Okay, so you'll get to see it kind of in draft form, and then we'll bring it back to you for acceptance. Or plan.
Just have one thing, it, again, maybe a little bit off topic here, but the Warner Avenue, so out, when you're coming up Thane, turn on Warner Avenue. It's not so bad when you're going down the road from Thane, but trying to come any other direction
It's horrible.
seems very dangerous to me, and that's high kid traffic right there, kids driving. So it might be a little out of scope for the project, but I mean, that's a very concerning spot. Coming from the high school, trying to make that turn at the stop sign there, so you can't see some of those lanes of a car might be coming. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. That is a primary reason why this study and the last one we brought before council, the Thane Road Network. Thane Corridor Study, looked at improving the network around that intersection also. And this one, part of the driver of it is seeing where we have problems areas like 10th, Thane and Warner. Like too much traffic is funneling into this one place because we've got massive amounts of housing and development that use these roads that all intersect. We need to provide more routes for people to take so that they're not all funneling to this one spot, right? Instead of having to come up all the way Gun Club or all the way up Gun Club to 10th and Warner and then go across, let's give them a place to cross farther north, north of the high school and the community park. Let's get them pulled off of Gun Club before and send them to the east before they get there. So
Try and route a different direction.
improving the network is the primary way that will improve that intersection. The intersection does need improvement and hopefully we can do something. But the studies that we've done so far, without purchasing adjacent businesses and doing massive reconstruction, it's best to build out our network, which is dollars that's $1 for $1, right? You're not building something, you're also then spurring development. Like there's a lot more benefit to improving the network as opposed to just to improving that one intersection, even though it doesn't need improvement. And it is, I think it is a priority project, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Haven't
Yeah.
funded it, and
Yeah.
we don't have a good solution that we love for it.
I don't know, so I mean, you know, stoplights might not be a good solution and it might slow down traffic, but stoplights seem safer than stop signs. And I know big picture, yeah, improve the whole network, that makes sense, but short term,
Something that we could do.
something.
Yeah, and
Is
I think the Thane corridor study was adopted the last meeting with Letke. And so
Okay.
you came in and that was somewhat a controversial plan from when we got it through into adoption. Technically it was adopted, but we're not really in a position where we're ready to take the projects out of the plan and make them more, you know, design them and construct them. So
I think we did try to get one low hanging fruit this year, right?
and it was not received well, so.
Did it get scratched?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so,
Bye, Mayor.
be expecting, a works session probably in November, where we're gonna come back and revisit exactly that, talk about this corridor and talk about correlation of traffic patterns and growth and accidents, and where the council is comfortable, because yeah, there's a Thane corridor study, and I can email it to you, just for your, it's a lot to digest, but there's some stuff in there that makes your eyes pop, but there's also some stuff in there that's very simple and very easy to address. And it's, as we've discovered through this whole process, there's not a silver bullet that's gonna fix that 10th and Warner Thane thing. It's gonna be investment in other areas to pull some of that traffic off. And then hopefully we can get that traffic moved into the areas they wanna go without going through that intersection, and then we can address that intersection, so.
Yeah, if you could send me that, that'd be great.
definitely a multi-pronged approach to solving it.
Oh, that's great. I'm forward thinking. It's the way to go.
Do you have any questions or? Okay, I do have just a couple, I'm just out of curiosity. So you had said in the conversation here that a lot of it is obviously barren land and undeveloped at this point. So you're trying to get this plan and get it done ahead of time. So knowing developers, they like to submit ahead of time development mats, you know, to put in there saying, you know, we're gonna develop, you know, here's our area. Sometimes they like to put those and have them grandfathered in because, you know, they do that because then if any changes come later on or whatnot, they try and kind of hold that, said, no, you've already approved this, you know, so the city's gonna have to, just like you said, and then later on you have to buy homes or something of that nature. Do you have a list of those right now in this area where, you know, the bare land or anything? Do you have any developers or developments that there could kind of be a problem with, like you mentioned for Bryden?
So Canyon Crest is pretty well set with what they're gonna be accomplishing. It's not shown on the map, but that's kind of out 18th. If you're on Grell
Mhm.
and 18th Street,
Mm-hmm.
you go north. Those developments that are happening out there are a combination of Dan Young and RPL. And those two developers have plans out in that area, and seeing those new developments come into fruition is part of why this plan is coming together, is the recognition of we don't have a solid plan for getting transportation through these big developments that will be happening. Let's get it laid out ahead of time. That's not to say that they couldn't be adjusted slightly, but we at least have in an approved plan then we need this much right of way across here, even if you adjust it north or south by 50 or 100 feet. We at least have it planned. So other than that, there's a couple of there's an engineer who's doing most of the work out here who has laid out a lot of development ideas, but they're not submitted, they're not finalized. And so we would be talking to him also for ideas, because he's looked at a lot of this.
I think two parts of, there is a lot of right of way already out there that's already platted. It's not roads, it's just platted right of way out there. So they give us the backbone of the network. Unfortunately, those platted rights of way go straight down canyons, and those aren't gonna be viable streets. And then, you know, say like Canyon Crest is out there, they're literally at the crest of the canyon. So they've kind of plateaued themselves out. And a lot of these developers, and this is not a slight at the developers, it's, you're only developing your land. And so you're looking at this and you're looking at traffic circulation, how many lots can I get? And what's the, you know, fire emergency services, how can they get in there? And you trigger these secondary accesses. Now, let's pull that back. Let's look at, now that we've got, you know, a half dozen, you know, 30 lot subdivisions platting out here in the previous 20 years or 20 years from now, you're all eventually obviously they're not all gonna stay on those local streets in these cul-de-sacs. They're gonna funnel into these collectors and arterials. They gotta get to Main Street. They gotta get to Clarkston. They gotta get to Moscow. How are we getting them out of there? And so that's kind of what this is at of, and working with these developers. They were a little shy in the beginning this morning, but like, I think they're appreciative of like, it's frustrating, I know, for some of these developers because, yeah, where am I gonna get this secondary access? And now I have to pony this up, knowing this goat trail to get down to Lindsay Creek is not gonna service a true collector. So it's kicking the can down the road of future development. So I think I'm in, again, that's probably why I'm in a good mood today. Like there was a positive meeting and everybody seems like we're all on the same page and we're on the same goal to try and figure out how we're gonna lay these rights of way out for future development and be more predictable. I think that's the big thing is when you come out there and you buy a piece or you own a piece of land out there, where am I gonna put a road in? And how am I gonna get water and how am I gonna get sewer?
And the three major landowners were there today, so that
Okay.
was outstanding to
Mhm.
get their
I was
feedback.
sorry. It sometimes it helps when, you know, cause one of them was the Poyers and they're right in the middle of harvest right now. So it's like, what are you doing? And so we got rained out. So I'm like, great. Worked out perfect.
So this one right here, I thought, didn't you share with us last year that there was something and they were trying to get a road, or was that one that you shared with us last year? Cause I remember something, that's why I was curious because, and that's where Isran kind of brought it up, because I somehow recall something with regards to that development there, and I remember some sort of road coming off of Gun Club or something, and we were trying to, so that's why I was just curious because sometimes, you know, yes and no with the developers with regard, sometimes they're like, not our problem, you figure it out, I'll bring it to here and, you know, and sometimes they don't like to be helpful as part of the solution, so that's what's, you know, especially if they've already submitted their maps and they're kind of grandfathered in, and sometimes they're not, you know, but if you don't have a lot of maps that have been grandfathered, then that's gonna be wonderful for you and the city and everybody, because then that means this study, you know, getting those arteries, because there isn't enough. You're absolutely correct. Like that's, you know, there's no other way to go.
Yeah, a lot of traffic funnels there because that's the route to get to Thane,
So,
even though it's not a great experience right at Thane, it's still the fastest way to go.
so the timeline for the study?
It's supposed to be finished up in June. June 26, yes. And that is up front. I'm not gung ho about that date if we need to push that for one reason or another, whether it's more public outreach or we come up with an idea that needs vetted more thoroughly, or it's bringing the county on board more. Like these are all things that we can push that schedule for, but currently the schedule has June 8th on it.
Well, I'm not a betting person, but if I was a betting person, I would not think that we're gonna meet. I mean, our first meeting, the county was interested in partnering with us and bringing in some more. I mean, there's some sub areas. There's the developer driven and landowner and emergency services and school district, but then there's a whole subcategory of the interface between city and county and getting them to be on the same page as us. And then we've got overlaps and right of way, and there's some other things. So, you know, they're interested in it, which is great. But that just means there's more work to do, and that's probably gonna take more time.
And when do you need an answer for a member of this committee to be on your steering committee?
As always, sooner the better, but the next steering committee isn't until
Late October, mid-October.
Yeah, I was just trying to remember the schedule. It was November
Yeah.
timeframe for the next steering committee.
How often are you guys meeting?
It's gonna be 2 more meetings for the steering committee planned. End up having to pull another one in, but hopefully we can get it done in 3. The next one will be where the rubber meets the road in a lot of ways, because we'll be looking to. But today we kind of had concepts and tried to hear what other people thought should happen. And next time there's gonna be a lot of ideas on paper that says, okay, this is what we think are good ideas, and then we'll start evaluating those. So the next one should be should be some really good work that gets done. I'm excited for this whole project. It's important.
Okay, anything else, anybody? Okay, all right, thank you so much for updates on both of those.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, we did not move anything from the consent agenda, so we will go to unfinished and new business. Any comments from the commissioners you would like to bring forward?
Considered the council liaison, if we considered also commissioners.
That would be, I consider Haley the commission liaison.
The council
Yep.
Or, oh, wait, what's your question again?
The highlighted in yellow,
Yeah.
is that, because we're technically voting members,
Oh.
are we still considered under that?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
you're, yeah.
Sorry,
That's what I thought.
I was thinking staff liaison.
Yeah, okay, yeah, oh, yeah, I see, sorry. Are we still? Could be. Comments only. I should ask my questions earlier.
You can ask questions.
I was just curious on, I know we had an officer come a long time ago to one of our meetings. We put in some, I think, speed limit signs to help assist them with some issues they were having with that. I was just curious how many, are we still meeting with police officers when they have issues and working with them? And
There was a big meeting. I was not a part of that.
I can field that
Yeah.
one. So we have a monthly meeting set up with code enforcement and PD for us all to get together. And we haven't met the last couple of months because there's been no items for the agenda.
oh, okay, but you have it as like,
But we ping each other and like, hey, does anybody have anything for the agenda this week?
oh, perfect.
And we'll kick that meeting off on a monthly basis as basically as necessary. So PD has a direct line to engineering to talk about stop signs, traffic signs, speed limits, issues they're seeing.
And with school, obviously now back in session, this last couple of weeks, our sign and signal crews have been out there
Mhm.
making sure all our signs and signals are working in the school zone, so.
Yeah, I know they had talked about, you guys had started that. I just wasn't sure if we were still doing it, so thank you.
Make one comment, and probably one that's been heard before, but that roundabout up on Earl is a little bit of a headache.
Hmm.
Especially if you're pulling a camper or anything like that. I haven't pulled a camper through there, but I can imagine because I've pulled campers before and that
I watched.
seems a little tight together.
Tenth and Borough,
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
designed to be driven over the top of if you've got a camper.
I got you. Okay,
But that is the intent.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that
Just
is-
not drive straight through it.
And not
And not
50.
fast, and not fast.
Hence the speed bumps in the
Yeah.
middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to add those because people with big Jeeps were coming through or big truck
Trucks,
tires.
anyway.
And they would just right through. They didn't care about that little curb at all. And so we added a couple of bumps on top of them to try to make it at least worth slowing
I
down
haven't
for.
seen anybody go over it since those have been put in
Good.
place. I drive by it every day, so, well, twice a day. So it seems like it's working. But yeah, I
A
have,
real mixed bag of comments, by the way, because we get some people who absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Like the neighborhood loves it, the people who are on the corners there.
oh,
They,
interesting.
they actually threw a party in the middle of it. I got pictures the
Oh
other
my
day.
gosh, that's so
In
fun.
the, when they were constructing it, because it was all shut down.
Yeah.
So they went out there and had a bonfire.
Why do they like it?
Because you couldn't, especially like school, you couldn't get out.
Mhm.
Oh.
The stop signs back traffic up so much, but
Right.
now traffic flow is so much better through that intersection.
Yeah.
People can now get in and out of their driveways. So
Got it.
if the closer you live to it, the more happy you are. If you don't live near it. You think it's a waste of money and you don't like roundabouts, and then we put the speed bumps and that's the frustrating, the hardest part. And I mean, for your benefit,
Yeah.
going back 4 or 5 years ago, we do the transportation CIP. We'll be doing it again in February, the capital improvement plan. And so we go out to the public, we say, show us your project, show us your concerns, knowing that we have, I mean, there's hundreds of millions of dollars of projects on this list, and we're not gonna do them all today, but so we, Main Street and 21st and Thane and Bryden, all these big corridors, Warner, 10th and Warner, these are all on there. And then this mini roundabout showed up, and it had been designed many years ago. And so you look at the list and it's like, oh yeah, Bryden, $20 million, Main Street, $20 million, $30 million. And then you find this mini roundabout, which was under $100,000, or maybe it was a little bit, maybe it was 250, yeah. And so you're like, oh, that's an easy one. We'll just do that because it was number 4 on the list or whatever it was, and it was under $1 million. That's a slam dunk. So we took it to the council. Council kind of, hemmed and hawed and funded it and built it. And I'll tell you what, yeah, it's a lot of feedback on that one. And I'll be darned if I will build another roundabout for a while.
I still think 4-way stop signs would have been worse.
Yeah, there was, you shot, the model showed it would have worked for a while, but it was not sustainable.
Stoplights maybe, but even then,
But it's such a residential neighborhood that, it would have.
taking a lot of space.
Yep.
You brought up the item I was gonna address, so I'm glad you did, because I was just kind of curious. Since the budget is done, that you mentioned, and I know that you have a lot of different projects and everything, and your plates are incredibly full. I wanted to follow back up on the capital improvement plan and kind of defining it. I hope pulling it out might have helped your budget process a little bit instead of having it kind of intermixed again with the income and expenses and stuff. So hopefully that kind of helped. And then kind of what status was to updating the document for your future endeavors.
Yeah, what's funny is I have not forgotten about the Laura's 5-year plan. It's actually on my dry erase board in my office. It's probably permanently written there because I've not erased it, but that is the goal in that, you have all these master plans, and then you have a capital improvement plan. And then with what I would like is that rolling 5-year development plan, whatever you want to call it, 5-year plan. And then you've got your adopted budget, and then you've got projects constructed, and that's how the hierarchy of it goes. The capital, pulling that capital out. And so for budget, whether it's, it gets very into the weeds, but you've got your enterprise funds, wastewater, water, stormwater, and sanitation, and then you've got transportation, which is a whole convoluted mess. But you take your capital, and so these are the projects that we're going to construct, and you can go all the way back into the master plans or the 5-year plan and then build that up. And so I think we're doing a better job of laying out operations. This is what it takes to keep the lights on, as far as keeping the enterprise funds or the utilities functioning. And in order for those not to collapse, you need to invest in your capital. And here's your prioritized capital list as to immediate and then further down the list. And so we have tried to trim back the budget process. I feel like with the feedback we got from this council is that don't inundate us with all these meetings and work sessions where we're there for 3 hours and I'm giving you updates on all these lawnmowers. And so, yeah, here's what we got for operations, and operations are hard to amend because you've got labor and fuel and all these, like, I'd love to make fuel more cheaper, but I can't. So that's what it's going to cost to keep these things operating. And then capital. So if you're going to be trimming budgets, that's going to come right out of capital. And so I think we did a much more direct presentation to them. And so, yes, the budget has been adopted. So all those that were in the CIP that were funded are now funded. And now we're going to start the public outreach for specifically transportation. When's the first meeting? That's probably November.
We kick off the process. Staff kicks off the process in November. Yep. And then we start.
Work our way through the public engagement. And I'm not sure. I came to this group last year. We've struggled every single year to get public engaged. It's not the most engaging topic until it's a roundabout that you think is stupid. You know, trying to get them to put in where do you value your, you know, where do you want the city of Lewiston to go as far as transportation improvements, capital? And some of these are easy. I mean, you
Tell them there's gonna be a possible roundabout, and they show up and be like, just kidding, just wanted you to show me.
It's around.
Don't do that.
In all seriousness, I mean, one of the reasons it helps in that planning document, and I think the reason we really kind of appreciated it was it gives you a status of the document, especially if there's a grant or something. Because sometimes the grants, you don't have to spend it, you know, you get like sometimes 3 years to spend it, you know, in order to get enough funding for the project, because that's how some of the grant, you know, funds work. You know, some of the federal ones, they realize you can't do them, you know. So they say, you know, you have 3 years to implement the first part of it. Well, sometimes in the heat of your budgeting, you forget, you know, there's only so much you can do. So if it's on the piece of paper, when you're presenting it to your counselors or the mayor or whoever, it's like, oh, that's right. We have 3 years. This is year 2. We need to refocus and look at this because, you know, we just got $15 million or whatever it is, and we have this many years to spend it. We need to, in order to make this, we need to do a design plan. That's usually what their first steps are. Say, we always want a design plan of some sort. So you find $150,000 to put into that to see, and then sometimes that kicks the second part of the grant. So that's why those documents were helpful for counselors
Yeah.
to help you get your funding and your projects done. So that
Yeah,
was the only reason, that was the only reason I was curious.
Yeah, and
because-
transportation is hard. You know, case in point, people see project, another one besides the roundabout is the pedestrian crossing on Snake River Avenue that was paid for by a grant. So the city literally paid $30,000 for that, and that was.
There was a lot of uproar about that one too.
Yeah, it
People were happy about it.
it was something that was sitting on a plan. It met the parameters of the grant. The city paid very little of anything for that project and it was done. And so when we put these on the CIP or even the budget, you know, it's hard to show, I mean, even for the council to understand, okay, that it's a 8% match, you know, so the city's only paying this many dollars, even though the project's this much. It's just how it all operates. And transportation is very tough because you've got, you know, varying, all kinds of different sources of money.
No, I know, and that's why the document helps, because you can put the
Yep.
narrative there.
Yep, that's exactly what. yeah, what we
And give
started doing.
it to them in the community to read. So that's all. Anyway, I was just that was my question for today is under comments is where does that stand? All right, item B, staff liaison. Really? Anybody? Next meeting, anything? Okay.
I'll send out a poll, hopefully. There was only one person who didn't RSVP and it was Ryan to this one, and he's here. So I don't know how much the RSVP really helps us, but we will try again in the fall.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing all of that. Thank you for doing it on all of our behalfs. We truly appreciate it. And believe me, I know what it's like to hurt cats. So we'll be better. We promise. All right. With no further ado, do I have a motion to adjourn? Make motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
This might help you on your capital project and what's important to the council. I know I can say it, but I really appreciate it.
That always intended.
Anytime we have a
Seen it.
Look at effort required versus introduction, get your priority.
I will admit, the first time I looked at it, I went,
Kind of
oh, wow.
definitions on.
Oh, yeah.